In this lesson, you're going to learn how modern system administrators connect to remote machines, that is, machines that are not right in front of them, and work on machines that don't have a graphical user interface. The program is called SSH, for Secure Shell. It's a program which it works with a client-server protocol, which we'll be getting into more when we talk about setting up a website, because HTTP, the protocol which is used for web traffic, is also a client-server protocol. What that means is you've got a client on one end and a server on the other end. The server provides some service. We'll talk about specifically what defines a service and how that kind of works in Linux. And then a client uses that service and connects to it using some protocol that the server understands. Let's get into the practical nitty-gritty of doing this. I've got my IP address for my VPS, which is in a data center somewhere. I don't know where, I don't really care where, it's somewhere in Frankfurt. And here's the root password that it came with. I'm obviously going to reset that as soon as I log in. So for those of you who are going to try to log in after you see this, I'm sorry. So here's what I want to point out about SSH. But we already discussed how you run a program in Linux. It's program name and then any number of arguments. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3 are the arguments here, and SSH is the program that we're running. If you remember from your bash prompt, you know that username at hostname is how bash tells you what machine you're on. Interestingly, this is actually where email addresses came from, because it comes from Unix. So this is why email addresses look the way they do. So this actually makes it very easy to understand SSH, because SSH simply takes a remote login and a remote machine that is a host name or an IP address, and it will go ahead and try to log in there with the password that you give it. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm just going to paste in here SSH. Now, if I don't put a username at, it's going to try to log me in with the username I'm currently logged in with here on the local machine. So I actually want to log in as not rot, but root. And we're going to discuss the difference between root, which is sort of a special type of account. It's an account that can do anything on a Linux system, sort of like a Linux god. And we're going to use that to log into the root account at this machine. So we're sitting here as the Dave user on the Tutorial Linux machine, and we're going to log in as the root user at the machine with this IP address, which is somewhere out on the internet. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. The first time you connect to a machine, you'll get something horrifying like this. What this is basically saying is we don't know that the key fingerprint for this cryptographic certificate is the right one. So the very first time you have to say, okay, yes, I trust this machine. So the first time it's sort of a leap of trust. If you're doing something that requires incredible levels of security, you can find out what the key fingerprint is before you log into it and then compare that. But for anything we're doing, it's just so unlikely that we're being attacked the very first time that we're connecting to it that we can just type in yes. So if that all just scared you, don't worry about it. Just type in yes the first time you connect to the machine. Obviously, when you have higher security requirements, you should maybe think about this. Okay, but basically SSH is a way of running a shell on a remote machine, and what we just learned is that it actually uses encryption to actually secure what you're doing. And that means that someone on the way to that server at one of the hops that your traffic is going to take, somewhere between you and your server, someone can't just listen in on your traffic. That was a problem in the past when people used something called Telnet to connect to their remote machines, and it was all in clear text. And in cryptography terms, clear text simply means it's not encrypted. Anyone can just pick it up and read it anywhere, and you have no assurance that you're actually talking to the right endpoint and that your traffic is unreadable in transit and that sort of thing. So those terrible days are over now, and we use SSH for everything. So we're going to paste that password in there. Don't be surprised. On Linux, often you won't see the characters as you type in a password. It's just so shoulder surfers can't see your password. But it's there, so I just pasted it in and hit enter, and hallelujah. We have logged into Ubuntu. It's that machine that I set up in the previous video. And this is just the login banner, so you can see some information about the system. the very first thing we need to do is change the root password. I'm going to type in a root password, and I'll sort of cut that out so you can't count the number of characters I'm typing in, and then I'll be back. We've now logged in and changed our root password. In the next video, we're going to talk about the basics of working on a remote machine, but you're actually sitting, this is no longer your terminal, this is a terminal on that remote server. So enjoy. You now have control over your local machine and over a Linux machine that's running in a real data center out on the net somewhere. Congratulations. It's kind of a big step.